For the past several months, Emily had been distant. Long walks alone, hushed phone calls, and an uncharacteristic nervousness that permeated our conversations. At first, I dismissed it as stress from her job at the local community center, but soon enough, the inconsistencies piled up. I thought back to the early days of our marriage, the long nights we'd spent talking and dreaming about the future, and it stung to see that intimacy slipping away. The final straw had been last night. I accidentally overheard a phone call between Emily and her cousin, Sam. The tone of the conversation was anything but familial. It was playful, intimate, and filled with pauses that carried unspoken words. My stomach churned, my suspicions solidifying into a harsh reality. Tonight, the entire family was gathering at Emily's parents' house for a late fall barbecue. I decided it was time to confront her not just in private but in front of everyone. If my suspicions were true, the betrayal would need to be exposed fully. I walked through the front door of the farmhouse, the warm glow of the living room lights contrasting sharply with the cold knot in my chest. Emily's parents, siblings, and cousins filled the room, laughter and conversation echoing through the space. I scanned the room and found Emily standing by the fireplace, talking to Sam. They stood closer than what I considered appropriate. And my jaw tightened. I remembered how Emily's laughter used to feel like music to me, and I hated that it now sounded hollow. "Mark. You made it." Emily's voice carried a hint of forced cheerfulness as she walked over and gave me a quick hug. Her eyes darted nervously toward Sam, who shifted uncomfortably. "Of course," I said, my tone even but my eyes locked on hers. "Wouldn't miss it for the world." Dinner was served shortly after. The family gathered around the long dining table, the conversation flowing as plates were passed and stories were shared. I played along, smiling and nodding, but my mind was elsewhere, formulating my approach. I couldn't help but recall the first dinner Emily had cooked for me when we were dating. She had been so nervous, and I had fallen harder for her that night, watching her light up every time I complimented her cooking. After dessert, as the family moved back to the living room, I decided it was time. I stood up, clearing my throat loudly enough to draw attention. The room quieted, all eyes turning toward me. "I need to say something," I began, my voice steady but firm. "It's about Emily. And Sam." Emily's face drained of color, and Sam froze, his drink halfway to his lips. "Mark, what are you doing?" Emily's voice was barely above a whisper, a mixture of fear and anger. "I think you both know exactly what I'm doing," I said, my gaze shifting between them. "For months, I've noticed the way you act around each other. The whispers, the secrecy. Last night was the final piece of the puzzle. I heard your phone call." Gasps rippled through the room as the family exchanged shocked glances. Emily's father, a stern man with a booming voice, stood up. "What is he talking about, Emily?" he demanded. Emily's lips trembled as she searched for words. Sam, on the other hand, looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. "It's not what you think," Emily stammered. "Mark, please, let's talk about this privately." "No," I said sharply. "We're not sweeping this under the rug. Not this time." The room fell into an uneasy silence as I continued. "Emily, I trusted you. I trusted both of you. And you betrayed that trust in the worst possible way." Tears streamed down Emily's face as she shook her head. "It wasn't like that. It just happened. We didn't mean for it to." The admission hung in the air like a bomb detonating in slow motion. Emily's mother covered her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. Her father's face turned red with anger, and several of the younger cousins looked away, unsure how to process what they were hearing. "How could you do this?" Emily's sister, Claire, asked, her voice trembling with disbelief. "To Mark. To all of us." Sam finally found his voice. "It was a mistake," he said, his tone pleading. I never meant to hurt anyone. Emily and I were just confused." "Confused?" My voice rose, my anger finally breaking through my calm facade. You knew exactly what you were doing. Both of you did. Don't insult everyone's intelligence by calling it a mistake. Emily's father slammed his fist on the table, causing the silverware to clatter. Enough! He roared. This family has been through too much to have this nonsense tear us apart. Emily, Sam, I want the truth. Right here. Right now. Emily sobbed openly, her words coming out in broken fragments. I don't know what to say. I've ruined everything. Sam looked down, his hands trembling. It wasn't supposed to go this far. We were stupid. Reckless. I'm sorry. Sorry. Claire's voice was sharp as a blade. You think sorry fixes this? You've destroyed not just your marriage, but this family. The room descended into chaos, voices overlapping in a cacophony of anger and heartbreak. Emily's mother fainted, prompting a rush of concern. Her father bellowed at Sam, threatening to throw him out of the house. A vase toppled over in the commotion, shattering into pieces on the hardwood floor, a fitting metaphor for the night's events. I stood still, watching the pandemonium unfold around me. The woman I had loved, the family I had once considered my own, it all felt foreign now, like I was an outsider in a tragic play. Finally, I spoke, my voice cutting through the noise. Enough. This is done. The room quieted, all eyes turning to me. I've said what I needed to say. The rest is for you to figure out. But I'm done being a part of this. Without another word, I walked toward the door, each step feeling like a release. The cold night air hit me like a slap, but it was invigorating. For too long, I had been drowning in doubt and pain. Now, I was finally breaking the surface. As I drove away, the farmhouse growing smaller in my rearview mirror, I allowed myself to grieve not just for my marriage, but for the life I thought I had. And as tears blurred my vision, I felt something else take root, the determination to rebuild, to find love and trust again. The drama of tonight was the end of one chapter, but it was also the beginning of another.